Not long ago, the Cobra Corporation sent me, at no cost, their entire line of new Cobra Trailblazer handheld HT GMRS Walkie Talkie adventure radios. The Trailblazer 250, the Trailblazer 450, and the Trailblazer 500, so that I could compare them and share them all with you, my favorite viewer. Last week, I uploaded a video about the Trailblazer 250, and in this video, I will be elucidating the Cobra Trailblazer 450. The Cobra Trailblazer 450 is the mid-level radio of the Trailblazer line of adventure radios, and the cost is $120 of monies for a set of two, which means that each one costs about 60 monies each. And of course, I will put affiliate links to purchase the Cobra Trailblazer 450 at both the Cobra website and on the Amazon in the detail sections of this video below. So when you purchase a set of two Cobra Trailblazer 450 handheld HT GMRS Walkie Talkie adventure radios, in the box you will receive these two useless government-mandated warning sheets. You will receive no user manual. The manual is available online only, and it is written in perfect English, as is to be expected from a company that is based right here in these now great again United States. You will receive this USB-C's charging cable, and you will receive not one, but two Cobra Trailblazer 450 HT handheld walkie-talkie adventure radios. On the top of both radios, you will find an on-off and volume control knob, a useless alarm button, and a removable and replaceable antenna. The antenna uses a standard SMA hole, so you can use pretty much any GMRS antenna of your choosing. On the side, you will find a push-to-talk trigger and a flashlight button for the flashlight located on the bottom. And on this side, you will find a hole for the optional headset and the previously mentioned USB-C's cable. On the front, you will find a very simple array of control buttons and a 1.3-inch screen that is very easy to see and read, as you have probably already noticed, through the extensive use of your optical input orbs. The radio has these bright orange accents, which are good for adventuring, because it's easier to find when you drop it on the ground, which is likely to occur if you aren't careful because of the cheap hook that they call a clip that comes pre-installed on the radio. The radio has a 2,000 milliamp hour battery, and I am happy to report that when you remove the battery door, the screw does not jump away and try to run under your refrigerator. The radio has a 2,000 milliamp hour rechargeable lithium polymer battery, which is user replaceable. And Cobra says that this battery will last for about 16 hours, which I cannot confirm, but when I was testing mine, it was on all day and it still had a 50% charge left. But I also wasn't transmitting very much, so your hours may vary. Like the less expensive Trailblazer 250, the Trailblazer 450 is a GMRS radio, as indicated not only on the box, but right here on the side of both radios. And this does mean that according to the FCC's, you should purchase a GMRS license from the FCC's website to use this radio. However, it should also be pointed out that the vast majority of people never bother. And also, like with the Trailblazer 250, the Trailblazer 450 is limited to outputting only 2.5 watts of RF electricities, which is one of the reasons why the battery lasts so long. However, contrary to the ignorant comments made by some people that you may have read online, this does not significantly reduce the number of FARs that this radio can give when compared to a radio that can output 4 or 5 watts. Allow me to elaborate. First of all, this radio, just like with the Trailblazer 250, is an adventure radio. It is made for normal people to use outside during adventuring, and it is intended to keep you in contact with other normal people in your group that are adventuring with you. In other words, these radios are not made for radio dorks. These radios are not made for sitting on your couch and trying to bounce your signal off the ionosphere or for making contacts with anonymous men in faraway and exotic lands. Nor are these radios made for G.I. Joe types that think they're going to save the world during the zombie apocalypse. These radios are made for normal people to stay in contact with other normal people whilst doing things like hiking, bicycling, kayaking, or just hanging around the campground. Basically, these radios are made for normal people that actually leave the house and go off the beaten path. And most of the time, in most regular outdoor adventuring situations, you will never be farther away from the other people in your group than these radios can reach. Anyway, as I was saying, the 2.5 watts of RF electricity's output is a good balance to give FARs and long battery life. In my video about the Trailblazer 250, many people ask if these are super heterodyne type radios or if they are the homodyne type radios. And the answer is, if you are asking that question, then this radio is not for you. So stop being homodynophobic. I should also point out that contrary to popular internet opinion spouted by some people, neither of these radios are made in China. These radios are manufactured in Vietnam. And although they may have components inside of them that came from China, the fact is that Cobra is an American company based right here in these United States, and they have been in business for over 60 years. And this radio was not manufactured in China. So some people that constantly complain about made in China radios on virtually every video that I make, proclaiming to the world how they would never stoop to buying a cheap Chinese radio, they will now all have to start complaining about Vietnam instead of China, or complain about where every little bit and piece inside the radio comes from, instead of just manning up and being honest and just telling everyone that they really have no life and they can't afford to buy the radio because they're unemployable. Anyway, just like the Trailblazer 250, the menu options are few and simple. The radio is very simple to use, and it has an automatic squelch, so you don't have to worry about setting it correctly or incorrectly. And compared to the less expensive Trailblazer 250, the Trailblazer 450 has a much better look and feel than the 250. It is a bit heavier than the 250, but it does feel much more solid and far less plasticky. And the flashlight on the 450 is considerably brighter than on the 250, although I'm not sure how well it will show on the YouTubes. The radio is pre-programmed and ready to use right out of the box, and it is compatible with all other GMRS and FRS radios, so you can use this radio to talk with the Trailblazer 250 or any GMRS or FRS radio, irregardlessly of what brand it is. It is repeater capable, but most adventurers will never need to enable that option, which, to keep things simple, is disabled by default. And you can use the Cobra software to manually program the radio, but that is optional, and most normal people will not want nor need to hassle with it. The 450 has an IP54 rating compared to the IPX2 rating of the Trailblazer 250. So the 450 is more waterproof and more dust-proof than the 250, and it can receive all NOAA weather channels and NOAA weather alerts. It has 4 memory banks or groups of about 30 channels each for saving custom channels, and it is very loud, so you can use it in noisy environments, and the audio quality sounds much better to my ear than the Trailblazer 250, specifically when the volume is all the way up. The 450 has far less clipping, if any, and far less distortion than what I heard on my 250. The controls and button layout on the 250 and the 450 are the same, and that is to say they are both very simple. And you can lock the buttons to avoid accidentally changing the channel or any settings during vigorous outdoor adventuring activities. The 450 has a larger screen than on the less expensive 250, which makes it easier to see and read, which can be helpful if you are of the older persuasion. And just like on the 250, the screen on the 450 is easy to see and read in bright, direct sunlight, unlike many much more expensive and fancy radios. And yes, most important, this radio does have a Roger beep. But what everyone wants to know is how many FARs does it give? The box says that this radio can give 36 miles of FARs, and some people will no doubt declare and proclaim that this is impossible. But verily I say unto you that 36 miles of FARs on these radios is possible, however unlikely. My friend, the 36 miles number is for comparison, like the MPGs for cars. And about the only way you would ever get that many FARs would be if you were at the top of a mountain and your friend was at the top of another mountain, 36 miles away, with nothing between you but clean air. So yes, 36 miles of FARs is technically possible, but not very likely for realistic or normal use. So to find out how many FARs these radios can give in the real world, myself and my friend Brian took our e-bikes out near Landers, California, in the shadow of the infamous Ruby Mountain, to see how many FARs these radios can give during real-world adventure use. So whilst I sat around and molested the wildlife, Brian rode his bike 1 mile away to see if we could hear each other, and this is how the radios sounded when they were 1 mile apart with poor line of sight. Subi guy, do you copy this Cobra
Trail Blazer 450 from 1 mile away, 1, 2, 5. I copy. A little bit of wind interference. It's pretty windy today, but yeah, I hear you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The radios worked so well that Brian rode out another mile, putting a total of 2 miles between us. And then this is how the radios sounded. Subi guy, do you copy?
Copy from 2 miles away, and how does the wind sound? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not really hearing wind noise this time. A little staticky, but pretty loud and clear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, you ready to try 3 miles and see what happens?
Yep, I'll go 3 miles.
Finally, Brian rode out to a total of 3 miles away, way off in that direction, somewhere out there. We had no line of sight and could not see each other, and this is what happened. Brian, do you copy from 3 miles
away on this Cobra Trail Blazer 450 handheld HD GMRS Walkie Talkie Radio?
I hear you.
It's pretty good, other than the wind noise. It's very windy today. But yes, I do hear you pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Did you say there was some terrain?
Between us, because you're 3 miles away, I can't see you that far, but is there anything between us? Do we have line of sight?
No, negative.
Negative on the line of sight. There's a nice little hill between you and me. Copy that. You're actually coming in as good or better now than you were at 2 miles. Give me one final 3 count.
Randy, can you hear me loud and clear?
Clear. 1, 2, 3.
All right, I hear you loud and clear. Now I got to find you.
Roger, Dodger, over and out.
So as you just heard with your own eyes, for real-world use, these radios work just fine, irregardlessly of what some people may say. But just to be sure, I also did my standard radio FARs test that I do with every radio I review. I used this very radio to call my friend Conrad, the chef, at his house 13.5 miles away on his base station radio with a large antenna on the roof. We do not have great line of sight between us. However, I am at a higher elevation than he is, and we were talking direct radio to radio, no repeater, and this is how the radio sounded from 13.5 miles away.
Shepro, do you copy this Cobra Trail Blazer 450 handheld HD GMRS Walkie Talkie Radio? 2, 3, 4, 5.
And as you just heard with your very own noise holes, This 2.5 watt radio sounded great, considering that we are over 13 miles of FARs apart. So if you are looking for a handheld HT GMRS Walkie Talkie adventure radio that is not made in China, is very simple and easy to use, and gives more FARs than you will probably ever need whilst adventuring, the new Cobra Trailblazer 450 might just be the radio for you.